young people come in. Can y'all please just come, just wave your hand. We did them three, it's some more. They're part of the youth group as well, floating in. So we try to make sure we keep them active and in positive spaces. But I heard earlier someone mention that representation matters. So I do just want to ask that, how many does representation matter and why? I want to end with hearing some thoughts on that, and while we're getting that, just to remind folks that I want you, because part of this is the discussion and talking about it. As you shared, the way we start changing is we have to have these conversations, and also in our homes. So hopefully if you're not having conversations, you go home and you just start having conversation, and it's just as simple as asking that question, how are you feeling? And taking the time to listen. And you might hear something that is going to make you feel uncomfortable because that person that you're asking may not be feeling well. And sometimes having the ability to say that and someone actually hear that helps. Sometimes it's all it's need, but oftentimes we don't even have the conversations. So I encourage you to have those conversations. Does representation matter? Who feels that it makes a difference? Some people feel like it doesn't matter because I've heard different opinions on it, but where are people in here on and when I say representation, so I'm talking to my black brothers and sisters. Does it matter that we have other black and brown counselors available to be seen? Is that something that's gonna make it more comfortable, or that doesn't make a difference for you, like to have access to that? I heard amen. Oh, it matters. So I thought I heard amen. It matters. It matters. Okay, good. So hearing that it matters. Go ahead. You gonna say something?
I was gonna say it does matter because I've been through like 3 or 4 therapists, so it does take time to like learn and know the one that's for you. But yeah, I will say the therapist that, how should I say this? Like, I just feel like a judging feeling, like not understanding what I'm getting at from the therapists that don't look like me, if that makes sense. And yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it matters.
Yeah, I do feel the same way. Because you don't really know, like when you're looking at somebody who looks like you, and you know that they probably have gone through the same experiences that you have gone through, versus somebody who doesn't look like you. So it really does matter. It does make you feel comfortable, and you feel like you get each other on a different level versus just understanding what you need mentally and in that moment.
Thank you. So thank you all for participating, and we can give a round of applause to our panel, to you all who participated. So I want to say, because several of you, and I think we know, oftentimes representation does matter. And so when we know that, we got to get behind the things that are going to help us have more representation. That is one reason why Dumas Rise providers exist, is because of the shortage of black mental health professionals. So we do have an initiative called Building Capacity for Clinicians of Color. Tamika's one of our clinicians. I don't see any of the other ones here. They actually, we do a lot of work in the schools, and there's Saturday academies, and several of them are in the schools this morning. But we have 42 black clinicians that are in this initiative. And so you brought up a good point. Who helps the clinician? Would you want to say something?
I just want to say that it's very important for clinicians to receive the support that people receive as well. Me personally, I've had some depression issues, and they sent me to a young Caucasian 19-year-old. I sat in front of her and I said, there's nothing that I can talk to you about that will ever help me. And I had to get up and leave. And that was sad for me, but in that moment, in that time back then, there was no one that looked like me, and I'm a professional. Yes. And so what you're doing right now is bringing the community, Ubuntu, I am because we are, right? I am because we are. And that just means that we all have something to give someone. But we need to make sure that we're giving it in the right place to the right people. And so what you're doing is valuable, Kelly. Not just you, but the whole entire clinicians of color, because we need to feel supported by one another and also bring value to what we have for each other and know that we can give each other what we really need. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you. And that's a lot of what the initiative is about. We support each other. We have a group meet, we chat, we talk, we make sure that we have resources we need. And you know, I have been in this field for over 25 years. And so I've seen a lot, and I've always seen that there's not enough of us. And then the ones of us who are in the field and working, there's so much pressure and so much put on us, and oftentimes burning out and not having the resources is what happens to a lot. And so, you know, this kind of work you get into, we call it heart work, because you really got to bring your heart to this work, right? To fully be effective, you do have to bring some level of your heart to care about people. And so when you're counseling and listening, you're giving of yourself. And sometimes people don't understand, because we're human first, right? Human first. And sometimes it's forgotten that even as a therapist, we're human and we're bringing ourselves. And so that can be very hard. We hear a lot, we take in a lot, and we carry a lot. So it's important that we know how to put it down and not take it home with us. And so what I want to do as we wrap this piece up is there are a few very special people that I want to recognize who are in this space and field. Thank y'all. Thank you. So, as we said, mental health professionals. Woo! So, I tried very, very hard to stay away from this week of doing anything, because I hate this week. For some reason, you know, it has turned out, but I'm going to acknowledge and say in history was one of the toughest weeks our community had on 5/14/2022, right? And so when that tragic day came about, I got a phone call that mental health support was needed at Jefferson. And so I got there quickly. And when I got there, the assassin was still in the store, and it was a bunch of, and so as mental health professionals, we're not necessarily trained to go into, it felt like walking into a war zone, and you're here to help, and quickly trying to figure out how to help, assess what's going on. It was a lot. And so I immediately, when I got there and saw what was happening, I started making calls for more therapists. And so I think it brings to the point you were saying in terms of, so people were saying therapists and mental health was needed, but we don't need the best trauma therapists right now. There's different kinds of needs for different situations. And so what we needed was people who looked like us, who were being targeted, to be able to come and hold space, you know. And so that's not an easy thing to do. And so I made calls. I happened to have in my phone lots of Black therapists. I was calling them and they were coming. And it's like, we don't need therapy. We need y'all to, some people we just needed to sit. And people just needed to cry and understand what is happening, and those are the things we needed. And so it ended up forming what was called the Black Mental Health Team. And that team had licensed therapists, it had ministers, there were peers, it was other types of Black professionals to come support and provide what was needed. There was one therapist so there are a few people, and I think so. The thing I started with saying I hate this week because I don't like the celebration. I think about that horrible day more than I could say. I can't get a lot of those images out of my mind. You can't unsee and unhear what happened that day, right? And so I think about it all the time. I don't need to wait for the day to come around and have a celebration. I try to get away from it because it's almost like everything matters just this week. We need to do stuff outside of this week. One of the reasons why that terrible event was able to take place was because of the disparities that already existed in our community. And so that made it why it was able for something so tragic like that to happen. And so we have to make change and identify what were the circumstances that made it so easy for this to happen, and what are we doing to change that? But one therapist that I recall from that day, and there were a number of people, but I wanted to honor and recognize a few people who probably have not been recognized. And I want you to know I saw you, and I know the pain and things. And as therapists, we don't often get to talk about what we've experienced when we go through. But Ty Pope, at the time of that tragedy, she was a vice president, but she was the first clinician that I called. She was on her way here and had an accident, so she's not here. And so she's a therapist. These days, you will find Ty walking in her purpose as the owner of Heaven's Countertop. Oh my goodness, and if you have not experienced it, it's heavenly. So I used to always tell her she missed her calling because she could cook like a very old soul, and she's doing it. But a vision that I still recall of Ty is, unfortunately, we had to we demanded to start accompanying as notifications were happening, because they were happening in the most horrific way, to be told that your loved one was no longer with us. And so we were with the families, with individuals as they're being told. And I still have a vivid image of Ty in the parking lot on the ground holding a family member that was screaming. And so as a therapist, we're not trained to do that and to hold that pain. And so I'm supposed to have plaques. Come. So I have a plaque made. I am going to read it. She's not here. I'll get it to her. But this is to Ty Pope for being a steady presence in a time of unimaginable loss, for sitting with grief, holding pain, and showing up without hesitation. Your compassion and commitment on May 14th and in the weeks that followed will never be forgotten. So that's Ty Pope. She will get this later, but I wanted to acknowledge her for standing in that moment. Another person that was critical for me, I see him here. Mark O'Brien. Mark, come, Mark. So Mark was the commissioner of Erie County Mental Health at that time, right? I knew Mark because I've been working in this space. I knew Mark. We've been in meetings and work. I really got to know Mark. Mark really got to know me. Because unfortunately, and I want to say, I don't know if you are the one that issued the call for mental health. I believe you were, because I heard Mark, because he was the commissioner. And so, oh my goodness. There was no roadmap of how to respond. But I went to Mark and I talked to Mark. We had so many conversations, but we were trying to figure out, how do we support, what's needed? And I shared with Mark, this is a very, very unique situation, and the people who are being called, we are calling the Black mental health professionals to the front line, who are also the target population and also dealing with their own harm. That's not day-to-day work, and it needs to be an enhanced compensation given to these folks coming in, because this is not what we are trained to be doing and working in this. Mark, and it was unheard of, he approved, because he had to approve that enhanced compensation for the mental health professionals coming to the scene. And you know, we talk a lot about systems, and Mark represented a system. And what I always say is systems are people, right? It's almost like with the Wizard of Oz, you look behind the curtain to see it's people making decisions. And Mark had some very hard decisions to make during that time. And so I just want to say the decisions, I got to give you a hug, I ain't seen you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. We spent a lot of time talking and trying to figure things out. And so for Mark, who is now retired, well, enjoying grandkids, semi-retired, because I know you saw clients this morning. He works still. So Mark O'Brien, Erie County Commissioner of Mental Health, for courageous leadership during and in the aftermath of May 14th, for championing unprecedented support for frontline mental health response, and for taking bold action to ensure care reached those most impacted. Your leadership helped lay the foundation for sustained community healing. So I want to say thank you. I saw what you did, and you didn't have to approve. And these are things a lot of people wouldn't know. No, money didn't solve anything, but it mattered. What it showed was, I see and I understand this is something that requires a higher level. So I'm going to sign, and this stayed in place for weeks and months, okay? It went on. He had to keep approving. He would check, so are we still in crisis? Yes, yes, and he was right there. And so the mental health professionals who responded while they're hurting, it does help a little to know somebody understands this is not a usual showing up, business as usual, and an acknowledgement of that. And I know you didn't have to do that. And I don't know what kind of grief you had behind it, but I appreciate you. Thank you. Yes.
Well, it's a morning or afternoon. Good afternoon, folks. First of all, let's hear it for Kelly, because this is she's one of the most amazing people I've ever had the chance to know. And I'm going to tell you, 90% of what she said is absolutely not true. In terms of the credit, because we all know what an awful day this was. And I actually was with my wife, was in the back at my grandson's Little League game, and the county executive called me and told me what happened. A shooting at Tom's, 10 people dead, and I said, "Are you kidding me?" And he said, "Get down here with the team." We did not have a team. There was no team. And I called the CEOs of all the major organizations and said, "Get me as many people you can down there. Give me as many people who know the neighborhood, who are from the neighborhood, who have a big heart." And this was one of the first ones on the scene. Everybody know what the speed limit on the Skijaquat is? 30. I was doing 80. And pulled up to a police officer and told him where I was going. He said, "Go, 80 miles an hour down there." And we met, some of us for the first time. Now, I've known Kelly for years, and we met on the corner. And he said, "Okay, there's a lot of hurting people," and there were. And we saw things that we can't unsee, and we heard things that we'll never, ever forget to the day I lie. But I also saw that day and afterwards the real beauty of the people who were there, not just the therapists that are there to help, but the neighbors and the friends and people who were there to say, this is pain and this is hurting us all, but not hurting us all equally, hurting the people there the most. So everything you said has been beautiful, and one of the things I really want to stress is to change things, you need the next generation of Kellys. We have to cultivate those people who can get up there and understand and listen and be present and hear the music and know what we're dealing with, because that's where the healing takes place. So I thank you. I say God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you. The last person, and not the least, and I'm telling you, there were many, many, many. These are a few people that are etched in my brain from this. The last person I want to recognize is, I said, coming into that space, it was uncertain. I didn't feel safe. I was telling myself, okay, God is not giving us the spirit of fear. I was doing a whole bunch of self-talk to try to get myself centered. And I remember when I got there, the full police, there were a couple officers. I went up and I tried to ask. It was very tense, and it was a lot of uncertainty. But there was one, I still remember the moment when my eyes locked with Chief Thelma Jones. I saw, well, now it's Deputy Mayor, right, Thelma Jones. But at that time, I thought I saw her someplace. Chief Thelma Jones, I locked eyes with her, and she was getting into formation. These are just some things etched in my mind, and I remember we locked eyes, and I felt a sense of safety that came over me that she was there. And then a few of the other officers that I'm familiar with started coming, because it was a little crazy with some of the officers who were initially there. It was it was like, and so seeing her, there you go, come up, come up. I saw her in her white shirt, and I know you probably didn't know, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna be okay, Thelma here. So if anything else go down, but it was a sense of safety, and so trying to operate in that space, and it just, it stayed with me for years after. And so Chief Thelma Jones, this is for showing up with strength when it was needed most. Your presence on May 14th brought calm in the midst of chaos and a sense of safety that will not be forgotten. Thank you for standing with community in a time of crisis. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Yes. So those, thank you. You know, as a community, we have been through a lot, and even not just as a community, there's so many, I'm sure many of y'all, even on the individual level, are going through your own situations, right? Because you're either going through something right now, or you're coming out of something, or you're getting ready to head into going through. Life is full of challenges, so we're always going through different things, and we never know what lies ahead. And sometimes we find ourselves, like on that May 14th, we may find ourselves in spaces where it feels dark and we don't know where to turn and where to go. And it's like, what is this? We're not sure how we're going to make it, how we're going to come out of it. But I want to remind you all that doesn't matter, and sometimes I have to remind myself, doesn't matter how low that valley may be, or when we look ahead and we see those hills and mountains, and we don't see anything ahead of how we gonna get over this. It's more and more and more. But how many know that no matter how deep that valley, or how high those mountains, there's no mountain high enough. Does anybody know that there ain't no mountain high enough? Oh, y'all know there's no valley. Do y'all believe? I don't know. Do y'all know? Do you believe it? Where's my band? we got to remind the people, ain't no mountain high enough that we can't conquer and get over it, right?